Our camera there into the harbor and Nova Scotia set to introduce new restrictions to take effect this week in response to Omicron's arrival in the province. Confirmed yesterday, 40 cases now. As a result, new restrictions in place coming in. For example, informal gatherings limited to 20 people as of Friday. Physical distancing maintained in malls or gyms. That's really just the starting point. Let's go to Brett Ruskin in Halifax to talk more about the COVID situation and the Omicron situation in Nova Scotia. Brett, good morning.
Good morning, Heather. The main story here in Nova Scotia has been the outbreak, the explosion of cases in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, specifically around St. Francis Xavier University, some sanctioned and unsanctioned university events that took place more than a week ago, and the transmission that has occurred since. And so, as you mentioned, things escalated significantly yesterday, where prior to yesterday, Nova Scotians thought that we had no Omicron here in the province, but 40 cases that were previously identified were confirmed by the National Microbiology Lab in Ottawa to, in fact, be Omicron. And so that is a significant increase, obviously, from 0 Omicron to 40 cases. Now, health officials are facing, a series of questions. How did it get here? What to do about it now? If we take a look, we know that the transmission is mainly based around the Antigonish area. There is talk now from health officials that it may actually not necessarily be sourced there, that there may be a connection previously to a university rugby tournament that took place before that St. Francis Xavier X-ring ceremony. That happened at Queen's University in Ontario, so there might be a connection there in terms of the source of the Omicron variant getting into the province. Now, what is happening in response to that? As you mentioned, restrictions coming back in as of Friday. 2 meters distance between restaurant tables, 2 meters distance between your yoga mats at the yoga studio and at the gym. There is a 50% capacity now on all weddings, funerals, churches, gatherings, things like that. So not the significant lockdowns that we have seen before, but certainly some added restrictions to try to cool things down a bit, add some restrictions to this growing problem with the Omicron variant. Here is Nova Scotia's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Robert Strang, speaking to CBC News yesterday.
Now is the time for us to slow down. Let's really think our travel plans, even within the province. How much traveling do we really want to be? Should we really be doing across the province? If we stick to our 20 is plenty and consistent within that 20, that should help you guide really about how much travel you're going to be doing in the next few weeks.
And one more restriction or a series of restrictions has to do with protocols around long-term care facilities, with at least one outbreak at a long-term care facility again in the Antigonish area. Heather?
That is likely to be a buzz phrase. We'll hear more. 20 is plenty. I'm going to keep that in mind, Brett, as we talk further about this. As you look at the maritime picture, New Brunswick, we know, also seeing its first cases of Omicron, a couple in the Miramichi area, and tightening restrictions in response. What is the situation there?
Well, yeah, so New Brunswick has 3 cases of Omicron, all, in fact, linked to that, again, St. Francis Xavier Antigonish area outbreak. But there are cases, 100 new cases announced yesterday, all across the province in all 7 regional zones for tracking cases. And so that is also a concern there in New Brunswick, too. They are bringing in very similar restrictions starting on Friday as well. One addition that they are having, the provincial government announced yesterday, is that they are starting the holiday break early for those in kindergarten to grade 6, because instead of starting the break a week later, as of Friday after school, that will be the beginning of holidays to try to, again, basically separate kids who may not be fully vaccinated, who are not fully vaccinated yet, those 12 and under. So that is the situation here in the Maritimes. One good news, one positive aspect of this, if you take a look at the highest peak before this, back when we had 227 cases in Nova Scotia, that was the highest peak so far in terms of daily cases. That was dropping down to single digits after 4 weeks only of restrictions. So we'll see if these restrictions work just as effectively as last time we saw a spike. Heather?
Brett Ruskin in Halifax.